Welcome friends. This is a 3-installment lecture on natural resources. We had one already. Today we will take up the second part. It's all about water. What are natural resources? You know well. All that exist in nature, they are natural resources. They are useful to us in some way or the other. Some may be imminent, very important. Some may not be that important, but still they are certain elements in nature. Solar energy is a natural resource. Wind is a natural resource. Water is a natural resource. Plants are natural resources. Animals are natural resources. So all around us, if you just look at different things, you find they all prove to be different kinds of natural resources. Soil is a natural resource. Water is also a natural resource. Mountains are a natural resource. Forests are a natural resource. So it is a complex world. All these different elements, they depend on each other. It's a network. I told in the last lecture that man cannot survive in isolation. He cannot stay separate and say, I am not dependent on anything. I can live my life. No, you cannot. Without air, we cannot live for more than 30 seconds. We are dependent on air around us. Knowingly or unknowingly, we keep on breathing. We breathe out, breathe in, even in our sleep. Even when we are unconscious, in an unconscious state, we keep breathing. The moment breathing stops, the heart stops functioning because the tissues in the heart do not get oxygen supply. Of all the resources around us, if we just make a list of the key resources, air is one, water is the second one. Today we will discuss about water. Water is a very precious resource. When you turn thirsty and you don't get a glass of water for an hour or two, you find to what extent water is an important source. You will not be able to carry on with any activity. You say, water, I need a glass of water. I cannot pull on. Unique natural resource. Without water, our body cannot function. Digestion cannot take place without water. Even as we have our meal, we keep a glass of water by the side. Now and then we take a gulp. Water is required for the tissues of the body to function. Heart pumps blood. What is the main constituent of blood? It is water. Brain, functioning of the brain. Brain needs water. The tissues of the body need water. The endocrine glands, for their functioning, they need water. For the waste products in the body to get thrown out, the solvent is water. Urine, the main constituent of urine is water, and urea is dissolved in it. Unique natural resource. Unique. You do not have another resource which you can compare with water. It doesn't have a substitute even. If there is no water available, what can you have then? What can you have then? We don't have an answer. Water is a very important natural resource without which no living being can survive. Essential for the existence of life. There is water on this planet, so all living beings, they survive. If there had not been any water, living beings will not be able to pull on at all. Why do you find life on earth? Because earth has water. If you go in search of life elsewhere in some planet, somewhere in some other solar system, which may be existing, first of all, what scientists say, whether there is air, whether there is water. Air and water become very essential. Third one, there is no substitute for water. You are thirsty, you don't get water. You can't drink something else and quench your thirst. You need water. Fourth one, 71% of the earth's surface is covered by water. It is nearly 3/4, a little less than 3/4, a little more than 2/3. 66, 2/3 is 2/3 of 100. 71% out of every 100 parts, 71 parts are water. How is that? The oceans, the seas, the rivers, the waterfalls, ponds, lakes, all these constitute water. Icebergs in the polar regions, they constitute water. The moisture in the atmosphere, that's also a part of water. Water that is contained in billions of organisms on this planet, water constituent in the body, that's also a part of water. When you take up all these, water turns to be an element that has a major share in the making of the world. 71% of the world is covered by water. The earth holds the same quantity of water as it did when it formed. Neither water is lost nor water is gained at any time. 1,000 years ago or 10,000 years ago or maybe 1 lakh years ago, whatever water was available in this world all together, it is the same amount that is available even today. Not a drop less, nor a drop more. So, water maintains its quantity all the time. In nature, water may change its form, but we can always retrieve it. Ice may turn into water, water into steam or moisture in the air. Moisture once again condenses into water, water then into ice. It's a cycle. So water may go on changing its form, but we can retrieve it. You keep a glass of water in the fridge, refrigerator. Water turns into ice. Take it out and keep it outside. The temperature is a little higher than what it was inside the refrigerator. Now again ice turns into water. We can retrieve, we can get back. What is retrieving? You can get back. Water that turns into moisture gets formed into clouds and moves up in the air and it rains. We are retrieving it, we are getting it back. Whatever moisture goes into the air comes back in the form of rain. So water has the innate ability to change over from one form to the other. It's not a very big issue as such. A little difference in temperature will make water change its form. Spill some water here, 2 or 3 spoonfuls of water. After an hour, you don't see any water there. Where has it gone? It has gone into the atmosphere. The day is sulky. You start sweating. The body wants to lose heat. Thereby, what does it do? It starts sweating. As it sweats and sweat gets evaporated, the body starts cooling. It's all well arranged in nature. Okay, here you have a diagrammatic sketch. This is one hole, Out of this one whole, which is compared to the water available on earth. This is water available on the earth. Let us see how it has got apportioned, how it has got divided into different zones. Oceans, water in the ocean is given by the blue color here. 97% of water is there in the oceans and seas. Out of every 100 parts of water, 3 parts are there in the oceans and seas. It is salt water. Water in the seas and oceans is always salty. We will not be able to use that water directly. You have to distill that water in order to get the salt out of it. You have to distill. If you go to Arab countries, you see they have distillation centers because they don't get fresh water there. So water from the sea is taken out, pumped into these places where it is distilled and water is converted. And they add air into it, nutrients if required, they too are added to it, and it is made pakka water that is usable. Pakka water that is usable. Okay, 97% of the world is covered by, these are figures which you should not forget. We have water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. Sea and ocean water cannot be used for drinking purpose. Then you have 2% here and 1% here. After removing 97%, what is left out is only 3%. Where is it hiding? Where is it? 1% of water out of 100 parts, less than 1%. I have rounded it up. It's not even 1%. It's less than 1% of water you find in rivers, ponds, lakes, and all such places. Whatever water we use here in India is all from this 1%. So 1% of water is found in rivers, lakes, and even under the ground. We call it as groundwater, because a lot of water is stored inside too. Then 2% is left out now. 97 plus 1, 98. Now you have 2%. Where is that water? It is in the form of icebergs. It is in the form of polar ice. It is found only at the 2 poles. Earth is a sphere. You have the North Pole here, South Pole here. That 2% water is here blocked in the North Pole and South Pole. Water that is blocked in the form of ice is twice the amount of water which we find in rivers, lakes, and groundwater. If the temperature of the world goes on increasing by 1 degree, 2 degrees, the polar ice starts melting. Already it has started melting over the last 10 years. Quite a big share of the polar ice has already got melted and it has got into seawater. So scientists say, environmentalists say, if it goes on like this, seawater will become less salty. Level of seawater will go up. Many of the harbors and ports in the world, they all get submerged. We won't have Bombay, we won't have Chennai, because they are all at the level of the sea. If the sea level goes up, they all get submerged in water. So this is a predicament which the world may face, may have to face. So if the temperature goes up, polar ice starts melting. If the temperature goes down, ice age starts. More and more ice will start getting consolidated, accrued in the 2 poles. The sea level will start reducing. More and more land surface will be seen. This is an actual happening over thousands of years. You have ice melting, then again melted ice in the form of water again getting retrieved into huge blocks of icebergs in the poles. Again after some years, again ice starts getting melted. Yes, our lifespan is very little. We will not be able to see everything. We see only a fragment of all this happening. Scientists do say an ice age had been there so many years ago. See, we get fossil mammoths. What is mammoth? The woolly elephant, which had a huge size, woolly elephants. They were very strong, muscular, and they had wool all over their body. They were called as mammoths. Mammoths means big. Look at that mammoth animal. You tell about a hippo. Mammoth, big. The word mammoth means big. The mammoths were there in Siberian region. Siberia got covered by ice. The elephants could not go anywhere. Mammoths could not go anywhere. So over years, the mammoths died. They were covered by ice. Even now, as they dig Siberia, Siberian soil they dig, earth is dug, they get woolly mammoths' bodies, intact. Germs have not attacked them because temperature is sub-zero temperature. The bodies are intact as they are, and scientists take them out for study purpose. Even the hair on their body would not have fallen. It all happens because ice age is a happening we see again and again in the long span of life of this earth. See here now, this I think you are very clear about it. 97% is the water in the oceans and seas. 2% water is in the polar ice. 1% of water is what we see in the form of rivers, lakes, ponds and groundwater here we use. The water we use is from that 1%. 3% of fresh water plus 97% of salt water on earth. This is the breakup. 2% is found, out of this 3%, 2% is found in glaciers. What are glaciers? Glaciers are moving icebergs. Moving icebergs, they keep on moving at a very slow pace. Sometimes they speed up. Highly dangerous they are. If the icebergs come floating on rivers or seas, ships have to keep away. Danger is imminent. So 2% found in glaciers and polar ice caps, 1% is found in rivers, ponds and lakes. 2 plus 1, 3%. Plus 97% is all that we have under the nomenclature of water on this earth. Water vapor in the atmosphere accounts only, it's only about 0.001%. Water, divide it into 100 parts. That one part you take, divide it once again into 1,000 parts. Take one part, that is what we have as moisture in the air. So, very small quantity of water is in the form of moisture. That is where you see the water cycle. Moisture, it starts raining. Rainwater by rivers, it goes to the seas and oceans. Again it gets evaporated. Again it starts raining. So it's only a small part of the water in the world that turns into clouds and again pours. %80% of the water available for human use goes to agriculture. Another key point. We use water for various activities. 4/5 of the water we use only for agriculture purposes all over the world. 1/5 is used for bathing, washing, cleaning, cooking and all other activities, day-to-day activities of man. Now, what are the problems we have? We just saw all the various features of waters. What problems do we encounter? In a nutshell, if you have to say, we don't go into details. The first problem is water scarcity. In a country like India, our cities are already facing water scarcity because of the vast population therein. Bangalore is suffering from water scarcity. Every year you have to plan. You have to come out with more and more projects to see that Bangalore is satiated. Thirst of Bangalore is taken care of. Same thing with Mumbai, with Delhi, Kolkata, almost all the cities. And in case rains fail, seasonal rains fail, most of the parts of India start suffering from water scarcity. So how can we overcome water scarcity? With such a huge population, in India we have 138 crores. In case there is water scarcity in 1 year, how can the country cope up with that? Agriculture will fail. People do not have water to drink even. So there will be mass migration from one place to the other. You cannot think as to what would be the scenario then. No doubt the government and the various environmental authorities are already working on that. India has more than 5,000 dams today. More than 5,000 dams. But even these dams do get filled up only if you have rains in the right season. If you don't get rain, from where do you get water to fill the dams? So water scarcity. Usually man will not think of that. So far, he doesn't encounter the problem. Hey, everything is fine. Where is it? There is no problem. Freely available water. But when you run short of it, you have the stinging you. Overuse. Practically you are luxurious in using water. You think water is there for you to enjoy. So man turns luxurious in utilizing water. He won't think of the society around. Unequal distribution. We don't get the same rains everywhere. Certain parts of India, they get scarce rains. Some parts of India get heavy rains. See, that equitable distribution of water, rainfall, you don't find. Again, that's a problem. Now, places like Rajasthan, certain parts of Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat, they don't get enough rains. You have to make plans to see that Thar is irrigated. Thar desert is irrigated. So this is with regard to unequitable distribution of water. Equitable, equal distribution. Unequitable, it is facing imbalance. Everything is not going properly. Lack of planning. At the governmental level, at the scientific level, environmentalists have to educate the government, educate the elected representatives and tell what is it exactly that the country needs. How can we see that human life can be made secure on this subcontinent? It's a long-term planning. Now sometimes we speak about already the project has started getting all the rivers joined with each other. River garland scheme we call. Indus and Ganga rivers, they are joined. Ganges is connected with Maha with Godavari, Godavari with Krishna to Kaveri, again Narmada, Tapati, and it becomes a garland, river garland scheme. But it's not easy to plan. The plan should work when it gets executed, and you need a huge quantum of capital. It has to be planned, it has to be taken up. Now we come to remedies. What can we do? Okay, we spoke about problems and problems. How can we cope up? What's the answer for all these? Conservation is the need of the hour. The first point, conserve water. Don't waste water. You have shower and you turn the shower on, and for 1 hour you take bath. You feel you are blessed because you have money. You have money, you can enjoy. How can anyone come on the way? Yes, you can enjoy, but not at the cost of others. Water has to be saved. Conservation of water is the need of the hour. Use only that much of water what you require. Don't waste water. You leave a tap to run continuously, you forget to close. A tap is a leaking tap, you never repair. For another 1 year, entire 1 year it runs like that. In some panchayats and municipalities, if you see, the main water pipe itself will be leaking. How much of water do we waste? We have to open our eyes into all these problems and see that solutions are sought. Second, educate people. We have compulsory education now. Children are getting educated in schools. But it's not enough. On a large scale, through our channels, TV channels, newspapers, advertisements, public messages, lectures, school education, we have to educate people and make them conserve water. As responsible citizens, we should understand what our responsibilities are and we have to execute them. It's a fundamental responsibility that every citizen has to shoulder and execute. Third one, harvest rainwater. See, of the rainwater we get in India, a small part is collected in dams and saved. Some water flows into rivers. Rivers too become full. Dams become full. Ponds and lakes are filled with water. What happens to the lion's share of water that remains? You don't have space to collect and keep. That water will flow into the seas, into the Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal. How much is that? It's a huge quantum of water. So think and save. Harvest rainwater. Government has taken a lot of measures in this regard. In cities like Bangalore, as you submit a project for getting sanction to build a house, one of the key requirements is that you have to put up a proposal as to how you will harvest water. You have to have provision for that. You have to collect water on the terrace or in the open area around your house and see that that water is let into the ground. So it's become a chief responsibility. Water harvesting rainwater. Because we are adding up to the population of the world. 8 billion now. It is said by in another 25-30 years, our population will be around 15 billion, world population. 15, double what we have. How are we going to cope up with that? It's a big question mark. You have to think a lot, plan a lot. Then last one, construct watersheds. Watersheds. Don't allow water to flow freely. Put up bunds, put up controls. Go for small dams. Every village have to account for it. Every village should see that as much water as possible is collected and sent into the ground. Groundwater is depleting. Earlier we were getting groundwater within about 20-25 meters. Today, even if you go into a depth of 200 meters, 300 meters, you don't get water. It's a clear signal that the groundwater is getting depleted. Levels are going down. It's a matter of chief concern. When the groundwater gets lowered, automatically the balance of life that gets disturbed. Living beings, their survival is directly dependent on the water table. Water table is that water which is under the ground. It maintains a level there. Even in villages nowadays, if you dig a well, you don't get water. You have to go deep into the ground. Okay. Now here, keeping all these in view, 3 important dates that are being observed. June 5th is Environment Day. All of you know it. Environment Day. Now, March 22nd, every year it is observed throughout the year as Water Day. Water Day. Throughout the year we have to think of water supply, water conservation, use of water. How can we see that water doesn't get polluted? All these aspects are there. But a special day is set aside. On that day, we come out with new projects, new ideas, new plans, educate people, we celebrate. We remember that day is very important, that the human beings have to take it very seriously and work on the directions that science tells us. We have to behave. We have to discipline ourselves. March 21st, a day prior to that, Forest Day. Forest, what we had 80% the world was covered with forests 200 years ago, 100 years ago. In the last 20 to 30 years, we have lost nearly 3/4 of our forest cover. 3/4 of the forest cover, from 80% it has come down to 20%. We have only 20% forest left in the world now. If we don't open our eyes now, we lose this planet forever. Man will lose the planet forever. So, Forest Day, March 21st, March 22nd, Water Day. As citizens, we have to observe these days. Then, April 22nd, again you know, it comes in the vacation period. Earth Day. We think of Earth. We think about the conservation of Earth. How can we save this planet for the future generations? Earth Day. These 3 are key days from the viewpoint of water, conservation of water, and the link between earth and water, the balance, all these we worry about, think about and find out solutions and try to execute. Here the lady is holding a glass of water. A glass of precious water, clean water, unpolluted water. It makes you so happy when you are thirsty, when you are tired. You can go without food for a day, but you cannot go without water. Water is a precious item that every living being requires. Water is a critical limiting factor for many aspects of life. For that reason, keeping in view the need for water, urgent need for water, for those who require it, we call it a critical element. A critical element. Now today, the vaccine has become very critical for corona. Everyone asks, are the vaccines ready? When will they come out? When will they come out? Will the vaccines be able to save our lives? Is the project a success? We ask a number of questions because we know vaccines are critical. It is only vaccines that can save us ultimately. Everyone knows it because science tells us. Critical means very important. Very important, without which you cannot think of life. Critical. Water is critical. It has a critical limiting factor for the human beings and living beings on this earth. What for? For existence itself. It's not to grow strong or anything. Vitamins, minerals and all, we say if you have to be hefty and strong, we have to take proteins, carbohydrates, that, this, we say 100 things. But here is an element which is required for your mere existence. You cannot live for more than a few hours if you don't get water. Environmental stability. If there is no water, forests will not grow at all. If forests don't grow, there will be dearth of oxygen in the atmosphere. Dearth of oxygen will result in the death of living beings. Animals will perish. Third one, biodiversity conservation. Biodiversity. We need all kinds of animals on this earth. We need all kinds of plants we see around. We cannot have a single species growth for the survival of this earth. We need all kinds of pulses, grains, garden plants, trees, desert plants, aquatic plants. All kinds of plants are required. They all have their share. Animals, we need all animals. Saying that deer are being killed by tigers and lions, if you kill them, what happens? The number of deer will swell and the forest will get cleared. Then by small plants will not be able to come up at all. The deer start eating them all. Can we kill all the deer? That's also not possible. It's all a balance. You need deer, you need bears, you need lions, you need elephants, you need tigers, you need microorganisms, you need plants. Ultimately, it is a system, an ecological system. Soil is also required, air is required, rain is required. All these put together, it makes an ecosystem. Pond is an ecosystem. A pond survives on its own. Fish are there, plants are there, lotus plants you see. On the sides you have grass, you have frogs there. They all would have come to a balanced life and they exist very well. So that's what we call biodiversity. We need diverse forms, different kinds of forms to live. Man cannot be the sole owner of this earth. As much as the earth belongs to us, the earth belongs to those trees, that vegetation, the animals, the microorganisms and all. They too have a rightful hold on this property. We should remember it. Because we have intelligence, we have brain, we cannot say, I am the sole owner, I will do whatever I feel like. No, it's God's creation. Fuel security. You have to get the fuel. How do we get fuel? Again, you need vegetation. To get fuel, you need vegetation. The petroleum what we get, the coal what we get from beneath the earth, or the natural gas, they all have got formed because of huge quantum of tree trunks that got submerged then. It is from plants we are getting petroleum. It's from plants we are getting natural gas. Okay, then healthcare. Healthcare is also important. No particular species of animals or plants should get threatened by virus or bacteria. We should see that the planet is maintained neat and clean. We cannot go and put all the rubbish into the sea and say, it's I live as I like. You can't throw rubbish into the sea or ocean. You can't pollute the rivers. We have to maintain the entire plant neat and clean. Water has its own key role to play, without which you cannot think of the earth at all. So let us give the needed important place to water in our life. Thank you.